DRBD 9.2.6 is shaping up to be a very exciting and feature-packed release. Of note comes RDMA fixes, a new load balancing TCP transport option, as well as optional TLS encryption handled by the Linux kernel, also known as KTLS. This video will focus on the new encryption feature and how to enable encryption for an existing DRBD cluster. This video has a corresponding blog post, so please check the description for links if you want to follow along over there. To enable encryption, you will need a fairly modern Linux distribution. Anything newer than Ubuntu 20.04 or RHEL 8 should suffice. Taking a look at the current cluster, on the left side we have the DRBD resource file for the resource R0 defining a basic 3-node cluster with nodes Alice, Bob, and Charlie. And line 7 is currently commented out, and that is the line that enables encryption. So this is just a regular cluster with no encryption. If we look on the right side, the node Bob is currently primary. And if we look at Charlie, we can see the DRBD kernel module version as well as the DRBD utilities version. Now, the release candidate versions are on my system because we haven't quite released the stable versions just yet, but as long as you're using these versions or higher, you'll be good to go. As a first step towards encryption, we'll need to generate TLS certificates for each node. The following script goes ahead and creates a private certificate authority, and then we can use that certificate authority to sign certificates for each node in the cluster. Refer to the blog post if you need to use and adapt the script to generate your own certificates. The TLS certificates that are generated here are going to be stored in the DRBD configuration directory etc/drbd.d. This directory typically houses the DRBD resource files, and we're going to just put the certificates here to keep everything together. We're also just using SCP to securely copy anything that we generated on this node that we need to copy to Bob and Charlie. And of course, we're going to go ahead and use the chmod 600 command to make sure the private key is only readable and writable by root. Since the Linux kernel is only responsible for encrypting and decrypting the traffic, we have to rely on a user space utility for negotiating the TLS connections. This utility is provided in the ktls-utils package. Once this package has been installed, we can then configure ktls-utils to use the certificates that we created earlier. Taking a look at the right side, we can see that the settings for the TLS handshake daemon are defined in the etc/tlshd.conf file. Now pay special attention to lines 32 through 34 and 37 through 39. These settings point to the certificate authority certificate, as well as the individual node certificates and private keys. And these are being listed for both client authentication and server authentication. With these settings in this file on all nodes, DRBD is now able to leverage encryption using KTLS. Before turning on encryption though, we'll have to start the TLS HD service and make sure it is enabled. Next, we'll update the DRBD resource files on all nodes and uncomment line 7. This will enable TLS encryption in the DRBD resource settings. But we're not quite done yet. Next, we'll need to disconnect the DRBD resource on all nodes, and then we'll need to adjust the DRBD resource on all nodes. Now, running adjust will trigger a reconnect, and if everything's configured correctly, DRBD replication will now be encrypted. You can use the TCP dump utility to monitor the replication traffic, and it will be plainly obvious that the replication is now encrypted. Support for encrypted replication is also coming to LinStore in version 1.2.5, so stay tuned for that as well as more future content. If you have any questions or you want to learn more about encrypting your replication traffic, don't hesitate to reach out to us or come visit us on Slack. We'd love to talk to you. As always, hope you enjoyed this video and thanks for watching.